Content warning. The following program contains tobacco smoking, discussions of fictitious violence, and other things that might make people feel attacked. But we promise you, we're not attacking you. We're just hoping that you feel seen. Either way, your discretion is advised. Yeah, we said something again this time. Yeah, I know. We're getting so much better at it. We really are. We really are. Anyway, you should probably start the music. Yeah, I should, huh? All right, yeah, that's a thing. Hey everybody, what is going on today? This is Solar Gray, the Cinematic Sorcerer, coming at you. No, not you. You. Yeah, you. From the Wizard's Tower. How's it going? And welcome to the dark side of the room. This is the show where we talk about games and how games, how they relate to life. Don't you know anything about life, Lisa? We have all sorts of fun and interesting discussions to go on through. And when I say we, I mean I'm not here alone. Because today, I have my co-host with me. Y'all know her, great entertainer, great humanitarian, and one of my dear friends for years. What's going on, Heather? How you doing?
I'm doing good. How about you, Seller?
Me? I am freaking delirious. I got up way too early this morning. Like way too early. Seriously.
3 a.m.?
No. Because see, I've crafted my life to where I'm working until like 2 or 3 in the morning, and then I get up at 11. But for some reason that I cannot put my freaking finger on, I keep getting up at freaking 8 o'clock in the morning. Who does that? 8 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, no, I don't want to be up at 8. I don't want to be up at 8. I don't want to be up at 7. I just laid down. So I wake up and I'm just a little wacky. And then I go through like an entire box of Keurig pods, trying to freaking get my legs to work and all that jazz. So that's I'm a little delirious. So that's a whole thing. But we are here. We're here and we're dear. Get used to it. All right. And we got Neon Arlecchino showing up. I woke up at 5:30 a.m. Good for you. Good for you waking up at stupid early in the morning. Look at all of that. So no, that ain't me. That's just not me, Dad. I don't want your life. Actually, no, if I had my mom's life, I'd be asleep now, getting up at 11 o'clock. Or getting up at 10 o'clock to get ready for work, to be at work by 11:30, and I'd be working until 8 in the morning. So that's the whole thing on that. But that ain't why we're here today. We're not here to hear me bam, that is, berate and moan about my sleep schedule and my life. We are here to talk about games and stuff. And when I say games, I'm talking about like tabletop games and board games and stuff you got to read the directions to, because you can't just button mash your way through it, because button mashing games, you don't need to read the rule book. You just kind of go blah and then you win. How did I take his spine out? I don't know. One of those. But if y'all have any questions or comments or anything like that, that's really easy. All you got to do is send me an email at backinthedeck@gmail.com. It's BACKINTHEDECK@gmail.com. You can also hit me up over on Twitter and Instagram, also at Back in the Deck. You can also find us over at TikTok, on the TikToks on BidPy, BIDPY. And if you're like me and over 40, you can find us on that wretched hive of scum and villainy known as Facebook. That's right, we're on Facebook, on the Deckers on the Book. That's our open group where you can do all of that jazz. Now I'm going to do something a little different today. while our girl Mellow Cello tells you where y'all can find her.
For sure, for sure, for sure. So, you can catch me on Wednesdays at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time or 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on twitch.tv /gamingfix live. And that's spelled GAMINGFIXXLIVE. And once again, you can catch us on Wednesdays with with the co-host Frank and myself. And we talk about games too. We talk about video games. We talk about board games. We talk about role-playing games. We talk about different subjects in the game and our experience. And we also love talking about how we got our game on, which was started by Bobby Skullface on his podcast. But we've taken it and we've done what we do with it. So we'd love to have you come on through, whether you're lurking or you like chatting in the chats there. Come on by and have a good time.
Awesome and Blossom. That is so cool. So I'm doing something a little different today, which is I'm actually putting out the 2 links to find people or for people to find us, because I'm like, yeah, guess what? We're live right now. And why am I doing that? Because I need to spend some more time trying to get people to watch our shows and all that stuff. So putting up the link right here on Twitch, or sending out the YouTube link on Twitch and for our YouTube channel as well. So yeah, that's the whole thing. A lot of people are like, I don't have a Twitch account. I'm like, you don't need it. Just watch the commercials. And let's see, what do we have? Oh my God. Yeah, we've got one of our deckers right here in the chat saying today was a level of suck because they had an active shooter on the highway near their office. Like, real talk,
Oh my
we
God.
don't talk about politics here because so many people come from so many places, all right? And I know if I go any farther left, I'll be in another dimension, right? But let's have a real talk moment. Half a second. This is out of control, y'all. I mean, I am no stranger to shooting situations. I grew up during the gang wars of the 1980s and the early 90s. So I've personally been through about 5 school shootings in the course of my life. And, I'm saying they happen really about the same rate because the press didn't cover them when they were happening in the hood, but now it's happening everywhere. And in the 90s, there was that thing about road rage where people shooting each other and all that stuff. And I'm like, look, guys, I get that people are upset, but there are ways outside of violence to handle your business. I mean, quoting I hate quoting John Witherspoon unless I'm quoting the Boondocks. But seriously, if there's some stuff out there that's got you messed up, like, use your fists. You win some, you lose some, but people live, you know? But these days, now people are like, I'm upset. I'm going to go shoot up everything. I'll be real with y'all. All right. I will be 100% real with y'all right now. I get it. I get being that angry. All right. There's always reason to be that mad, but you still don't do it. I mean, seriously, we got our boy over here. Um, now he's got to deal with the fallout of that. We got another guy here, Neon Arlecchino. Let's see. I remember being stuck in a traffic jam when I was very little on your way to SeaWorld. Your dad borrowed a car from his work, and it had a moon roof and sticking his head out. And after, there was a sniper running around that night, shooting around, shooting. And I'm like, you know what, y'all? Again, I get the anger. I get the frustration. But here's the thing. As angry as I was growing up in the middle of violence, I never blew up anything. I never did a mass shooting. And I turned out relatively okay, So I get that people are upset, and I get that but if you guys are watching this at all, like at all for real, I'm not talking about a ban on guns or anything like that. That's for the meeting later on tonight down at the docks. But what I am saying is this. There are better ways to handle frustration than to go on a shooting spree. When I was growing up, I was taught three things that stuck with me. One, just pay your taxes and get it out the way. Two, just pay your rent and get it out the way. And three, you can't go around killing people when you're in a bad mood. Okay? You got to save that for when you're being tickled too much. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. All right. All right. Just trying to bring a little levity to this because, yeah, this is, I mean, seriously. Someone got killed for taking a turn on a driveway. Yeah. I mean, guys, I grew up in what most people would consider a bad neighborhood. And the violence that I grew up with was essentially gangs talking about, it was gangs trying to fight for territory to do their business. Now people are doing this stuff because they're mad at other people. There are better ways. You know, I'm not one to advocate violence, but if you gotta freaking choose between if you gotta choose between shooting up a bunch of people at a country and western concert and getting into a bar fight, go have a beer. I'm sounding like Ozzy when he's talking about like, unaliving. But yeah, um, you know, I mean the world doesn't have to be this dangerous, or more to the point, the United States doesn't have to be this dangerous. You can be mad and not violent. I promise you that. I'm a living example of that because I'm mad a lot. But that doesn't mean I'm out there running people over with a truck or getting an AR-15 and shooting up places. And the people that think that this is the solution, all you're doing is making it harder for yourself and everyone that survives later on. Okay? So I ain't here to tell you how to live your life. I ain't here to be like some sort of preacher or some sort of doctor telling you to take your medicine. But what I am saying is this. However you feel right now that makes you want to pick up a gun and go shoot people, wait 2 days. All right? I promise you, it will pass. You know? And and again, Roland is sitting up going, oh yeah, unless you're being paid to kill people. You know what? That's true. Military service is completely different. And I back the military because before any of these kids are handed automatic weapons, they are given a minimum of 6 weeks to 4 months of training on when not to do this stuff. Way better than most police departments. But again, that's for the meeting tonight down by the docks. So sorry about that, Roland. Let's see if we can bring a little entertainment to you guys while we talk about things that we do to escape stuff like this. Now I'm kind of with you on that one, Neon. $500 a bullet. $500 a bullet, and yeah, you won't have to ban automatic weapons or come up with gun control if you charge $1,000 per shot. I mean, granted, a lot of gun ranges would go out of business, but it'd be like, I got $45,000. I'm gonna buy myself a gun target. you know, Honestly, I think we should have crossbows again. I think we should have crossbows and archery kits. That way, if people get mad, or you know what? Let's not even go that far back in the past. I know that sounds crazy. I say if people have a disposition to wanting to use guns against people, they should be given muskets. Yeah, muskets. I'm right there with you, Neon. You know why? Because, like I said, I grew up in the days of like gang wars and road rage, and it takes a lot to be like, that guy cut me off. Bang! Oh, I missed. I mean, seriously, that I would be fine if it was like that. Because if you don't know to run away and turn a corner while somebody's loading a musket, then I can't help you. um, you know, a really good friend of mine left a Facebook post. She was talking about beef, and she said I saw it, so I decided to take a butt selfie. And she kind of broke my Facebook feed with the picture that she put up. You know, oh, saying Heather's muted. My bad. Thank you. Thank you very much, Neon. Um, so yeah, all right. So yeah, so real talk on that, you know. So because of that, I haven't seen Beef. Because I'm like, if this
Mm.
inspired her to take this kind of a photo, I don't know what it's going to do to me because I'm pretty impressionable.
Well, hopefully it won't inspire you to do acts of chaos or mayhem.
You know, Fight Club came out when I was 23, and I have not been known to chant things like his name was Robert Paulson. His name was Robert Paulson. His name was Robert Paul. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. So yeah, like everything inspires me to acts of mayhem. No, you know what inspires me to actual acts of mayhem? You know, the
Mhm.
things that make me go, you know what? I'm gonna go set fires. Game rules. Yeah, yeah. You see what I did there? See, I segued into what we were talking about today. Yeah, that's what we going. Oh man, I didn't change. You know, I didn't change the title of this one, which probably explains why some people saw that we were live. Okay, yeah, no, yeah, not bad game design. I'm good with bad game design. Actually, bad game design. I'm kind of cool with. Um, because how can I put this? I can look at a game that's been poorly designed, but I'm gonna let you guys know something about me for real. All right. I've got quite a few friends that work in the video game industry, and those same friends are like, "Hey, man, you should come get a job and be a game tester." And I'm like, I can't. I can't be a game tester. I really can't. Because, and this is real. Um, what the crap? No. Act of Not the act of playing games for enjoyment. The act of reading rules. Boom. There we go. Um, I've got this thing where it's like, since I grew up in the 80s, I have this um, I have this idea that once something hits the market, it's been tested for public consumption. So if I'm having a problem playing a game, I figure that's just how it was designed. So I don't know how to look for flaws. We talked about this last week when it comes to like my innate habit of wanting to enjoy things. So I'm like, yeah, hey, I'm playing this game. Dude, this is bad game design. Why? What makes it bad? Okay, so you have to remember 61 different things before you can take your turn. But once you get those 61 things down, it's smooth. you know. So yeah, I mean that's just how I look at stuff. Um but I will say, like I said yesterday, today's episode is about how learning how to play games, learning any new stuff can be a little maddening because most game designers don't know how to write an instruction manual. They just don't. They don't know how to do that. And there's a couple of reasons, so we're going to be looking into that today. Okay. Let's see. I want to say what's up to my people in the chat. I see Ella Sadra, Amy Laura, Black and White Now in Color, Carthulu. Let's see who else. Drop Snacks, Freaky Baby TV, Go Gray Ghost, Liz Bay. What's going on, Bay? What's going on? Nephis is here. Kata, Neon Arlecchino, Ravenhawk 47. Okay, that is an awesome name. Is that not an awesome name, Heather? No, I'm
Oh, it is.
Ravenhawk.
It's definitely an awesome name right there.
It's like I will descend upon you with great vengeance in the darkness and steal your cat. That is just a cool name. Of course, we got Roland, we got Sofa King Super, the king of living room furniture. So thank you guys. Oh, and Commander Root, don't think I forgot about you. I see you. I see you there, man. So yeah. So when it comes down to it, now before I get out of here, I get a major question, and this is for one of my newer OPR players. Okay, one of the questions that we had was, all right, so when you get miniatures, how do you store and transport the things? And I'm like, oh, OPR, yes, the one page rules are what some people call dollar store 40K. I call it 40K that's meant to be played and not meant to be talked about more than it's meant to be played. Um, and I got a new player for Grimdark Future. He ordered some minis from back on the deck, and I'm like, okay, you got all that stuff. So what we got? These things. I love that noise. These things are like galvanized pieces of steel that you buy from Home Depot or Lowe's, and they cost like a buck and a dime. And if you magnetize the bottom of your minis down here, you can stick them on. They stick to the side, and you can transport them. Or you can put this at the bottom of something. Or, yes, magnets in the base of the minis. Exactly, Roland. Or you can put the magnets on these things, put them, and grab yourself a covered cake pan. You know, a metal cake pan that has a lid. You know, because a lot of different companies will sell bags, like just um, there are things like army transports and all that stuff. Um, and those things can run you 50 or 60 or $70. Um, where if you go somewhere like, oh, let's say Amazon, let's take a look at Amazon, you know, you can pay like 15 bucks. 15 bucks for a sheet cake pan that has a lid. They're made out of metal. You magnetize the bottom of your miniature, and you put your miniatures in the pan. You put the cover on the pan, and you go about your day. And this works with any mini that's on a base that has a recess, like HeroClix, that are the Oreo cookie bases, not like the old school HeroClix, but you know, that kind of stuff. Yeah. Historical minis, folks, they're the ones that came up with this stuff because they have tiny miniatures, and they have like 70 of them at a time that they have to take to a friend's house. So yeah, get a cake pan. Get a cake pan. You can get them on Amazon for like $15 or $16. You can probably get them at the dollar store for much less than that. Just make sure there's a lid on them. Yes, put minis in the pan, put lasagna on top of the minis, and then ambush your friends. Hey, I brought over dinner. No, we're playing a game. Thank you, Neon Arlecchino. um, and so yeah, I figured I put that out there because one of our current viewers asked me about that earlier, and I said, you know what? I'll do a quick segment on the show about that. So yeah, so when someone else gets their minis from back in the deck, Heather, they'll
Mhm.
know how to transport their armies as well. So
You
yeah.
know, that idea actually sparked another idea within me. And you could probably put like the metal sheet that you had,
Mm-hmm.
like layer it on underneath the tactile board that you're using on the map. That way you could just, you know, scoot your mini via magnetization or whatever you want to call it.
You know, some people do that, and I do that with some of the back in the deck terrain. With the
That's
stuff
good.
that we produce, our foldable buildings and stuff, I put metal strips in them in case like figures want to climb the building but they can't make it all the way up. I'm like, boop, they go halfway, ha ha ha, you know. And I magnetize the roofs of the buildings that I put together because I got so many people going, I don't know, I don't want to put my mini on top of it. You're not Games Workshop. And so I'm like, look,
Mhm.
boop, it's not gonna slide off. So that's actually a really cool thing. And on the good news on that, I've almost got my major shipment of those done for the patrons. That I'll be sending out
Yay.
hopefully by mid-May. And if you're wondering about that, I'm gonna sneeze. Thank you, because I'm allergic to my own incompetence. Uh, But if you guys are wondering about that, well, I'm putting up ways that you can support support the channel right here in the chat. Look at that. Oh yeah, they're right there in the chat here on Twitch. Of course, you guys can send us bits here in Twitch if you guys want to. You can also head over to our donations page or join the Patreon. There is a $10 a month tier, and my God, it helps keep the lights on so we can see the black cat changing colors. And we have merch. You know, you can head over to TeePublic, follow the link, get yourself a t-shirt, maybe a little notebook, you know, maybe even, I don't know, a back in the deck coffee mug.
Ooh.
And all that
It
stuff
all
helps us
sounds.
keep the lights on, because God, we really need that. So, back to the subject at hand. The two major things that come up when a person buys a new game is, who do I play with and how do I play? And I don't care if it's video games or board games, there's always a very similar complication, okay? Which is, this is something that I noticed with fighting games, party games, all right? Like Rock Band or stuff like that, where you get the game and you want to unlock all the good songs, but the only way to do that is to play or buy. And most people can't just buy the Aerosmith pack and then buy the Rush pack and then buy the Tool pack. So they have to unlock all the things. But by the time that happened, they're that guy that's really, really, really good at the game, and none of their other friends are that good. And it just becomes like this whole thing of, well, it's your game, of course you're good at it. So what do we do? Well, I was talking to someone about how people don't read the rules to games, but they just pass on what they know from one person to another. Because again, they were asking me about Grimdark Future from One Page Rules. And I'm like, since this week is all about teaching games, learning games, and understanding them, it got me thinking, all right, well, when I teach games, I try and teach rules as written because I believe in companies doing that stuff, you know? And I told him, you know, I'm sending you the books. I'm sending you the quick start rules and all the free stuff from the page so that you can learn the book, because a lot of people house rule stuff. And he's like, wait, there are house rules? I'm like, everybody house rules every game. He's like, I've never house ruled. I'm like, okay, when do you buy something in Monopoly? Hey, Heather, when do you start buying property in Monopoly?
On the second time you go around past go, everyone goes
Wrong.
around the board. What?
Absolutely wrong.
No.
Seriously, rules as written in Monopoly is you buy from word go. Your first term, you roll the dice, you buy property, you know?
I thought that was a house rule.
Nope, that is rules as written by Milton Bradley and now by Hasbro. I mean, that's it. You get the first turn, you roll the dice, you buy that thing. And the first time you can't pay rent, your stuff gets put on auction. I mean, the game is harsh. Okay, there's no putting money in free parking. There's no go around the board to check out the neighborhood to see what you want to buy. No. You roll, you buy. Your next turn, you roll, you buy. That's it. That's how the game is written. And how do I know this? I read the rule book. I mean, I was taught Monopoly the same way. You know, the person that teaches us how to play the game, we believe how that goes. But, and the reason that this comes about is because most rule books to board games, role-playing games, miniatures games, all that stuff. Yeah, exactly, Neon. Most people don't even know that once all the houses are gone from the bank, you can't get more until somebody upgrades. There's no more houses available. But yeah, most games that you pick up and playing have rule books that are written like freaking calculus texts. And the question is, why? Why is it so hard to learn the rules to these games that these companies want you to play, presumably? And there are two main reasons. Reason number one is that they don't care if you play, they just want you to buy it. You know? Yeah, I'm looking at you, Games Workshop. You know? I don't want to be one of those channels that are like, Games Workshop sucks, Games Workshop sucks. But with the main rule book, the codexes, the erratas, um, the constant power creep, the special abilities that only come in a magazine that you have to pay for separately from the game, like White Dwarf. It's like, yeah, they don't want anybody playing this game. They just want people buying. They want people to want to play the game so that they buy more stuff. But yeah, 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 they're a model company. Avoid to avoid rule criticism. Exactly. You know. Oh yeah, yeah. Thank you, Roland. The BattleTech rule books, especially the older stuff from FASA and FanPro, dude. I have a STEM degree and I hate looking through those books. But why is it like that? Mm. And it comes down to two different things. Companies either just want you to buy the rules, or companies want you to play the game, but they fall into two subcategories of we want you to play our game. And that is, we don't know how to write rules comprehensively, or we are writing a rule for every possible scenario that the twinkiest of munchkins can come up with. So if there is an edge case, you're laughing because you know what I'm talking about. You know,
Yeah.
that one guy that
Loves to crunch the numbers and just, plug away at all types of different scenarios, comes up with every answer to, a scenario might throw at them. And then suddenly you come along, Solar, and you wreck their world.
No, I don't. I just
Someone
say
like you.
that's
Someone
nice.
like you.
I'm like, that's nice that you got all those rules. Good job, but we don't play with that here. Yeah, I'm the house rule guy. It goes with rule of cool. And they're like, but we got to play the game according to the rules. Why? Because you've broken the rules to make sure that you can always win. We're playing to have fun, dude. And your language of fun makes everybody else feel bad. And again, I've seen so many different scenarios for this, especially working at a game store for so long. I read a lot of rule books because that was my job. And the one that I brought up yesterday was an obscure game called The Legends of Five Rings, specifically the collectible card game. It is a game that was put out there to compete with Magic the Gathering, and it's set in the Legends of Five Rings role-playing world from AEG. And it's a fun game. It really is. But each card, especially for certain factions, has like 4 paragraphs of rules. Well, okay, it's so not obscure. It is in this neck of the woods. I'm like, hey, let's play L5R. I got my Phoenix deck, and people are like, what? But yeah, but there are cards that have 3 paragraphs of how the freaking card works. Because they know that there is a player that uses the term, well, if the rules don't specifically say that I can't do it, that means that I can. So they write pages and pages and pages and pages of rules, and it reads like legal document, and that turns games
boilerplate.
Huh?
I said boilerplate.
Oh no, not boilerplate. We're talking specific. It's like writing a legal contract. So it's like, yes, you can play this. Party of the first part can play this card under this particular circumstances, and if party of the first part is wearing yellow socks, while playing this card after, and it's just like, dude, can I make my little horsey guys run you over? Like, can I cast this little spell and have my samurai jump in front of what you're shooting me with? And it really is a difference in play, and the people who play it and love that kind of thing, real cool. A lot of people call this we got who was that? Cayman Gamer Nephis going, heck no, I am not reading a book for every card. Seriously. And again, I only played a little bit of Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh, so I don't know how those cards are written. But you know what I do know, Heather? Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition and Pathfinder. And this is kind of the things I'm talking about. Pathfinder is a game of serious crunch, and a lot of people love it because Anything you can think of, there's a rule for it, and that's good game design. But directions, like writing the how to play this game part, um, varies from game to game to game. So there are a couple of things that I want to go over, like universal language, um, that are involved in gaming rules. The most popular one, and you guys will be able to follow me on this one, especially I know Gray Ghost, Neon Arlecchino, Roland, and Black and White Now in Color. You guys can back me up on this. Because I don't care if it's a role playing game, a tabletop minis game, a board game, or a card game. The biggest thing, especially amongst new players, is learning the difference between must and may. All right? When this happens, a player must, or when this happens, a player may. I'm sure you've seen this complication, right, Heather?
Yes.
Hmm. Um, one is obligatory and one is a choice. But why would they write these books like? Why would they write these rules like this? Um, Whenever a company is designing a game, there is a section that we've all heard called beta testing. And that is when they allow the public to test their games to see if there are unbeatable combinations. Like real talk, the one thing a gaming company fears is having holes in their rules that allow one player to win by not allowing anyone else at the table to play. Like we talked about yesterday with the Kick Solar and the Taint deck. I play a land, I destroy that land. Oh, well, I play a land, I tap it, and now I bring this creature, and I destroy that creature and that land. Oh, okay. That's something that a game company doesn't want because that means the people that are winning are playing, but the 5, 6 people for every one of them don't get a chance to play. And I'm not going to lie, internet video gaming has brought a lot of that to prevalence because since people are mean on the internet, the number one thing that's said is, well, get good, noob. And it's like, you can't get good if you can't play. That's a really big thing. So, I want to look at some of the language here. So we're gonna pull up, let's see, what do we got? Do 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 do. I'm pulling up some game rules. To a couple of different games. Yes, kids run into that constantly. And here's the thing. I'm glad you brought that up, Greg. This is kind of behavior that we learn as a kid. When we're losing and we haven't learned good sportsmanship, the first thing that we do as kids is what, Heather?
Throw a tantrum.
Well, what does that tantrum consist of?
Usually rage quitting.
That's a second place thing. That's something that happens when they become teenagers. That's the screw this game, it's stupid anyway, age. No, we're talking accusing your opponent of cheating.
Mm.
Why? They outsmarted my play. They're cheating. They're cheating. They're not doing that. They're cheating. Dad, they're cheating. And it's like, boy, you can't cheat at Uno. You just read what the cards say. Oh yeah, blaming bad teammates. That's another one. And it's to avoid a lot of the feel bad moments. So a lot of companies over the decades, great. All right. I hope you guys can't hear the sirens that are happening in the back. I think there's an ambulance coming down. What a lot of companies did was they made more and more and more rules to make their stuff even more specific. Okay? Really, 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 really specific. The place that I can point this out are collectible games that have lasted a long time. We're talking Hero Clicks, Magic, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, stuff like that. I know when I first started playing Hero Clicks, when it first came out almost 20 years ago, It was, here are the powers, here are the stats, that's what's on the cards, go play. And then erratas came down because it's like, well, can I do this power at the same time that I do this power at the same time that I do this? And if this thing says I get an extra move, then can I stack all these people that give me that extra move so I can move my whole team at once? That kind of thing. And companies have to rewrite rules. Like, the biggest place that I've seen this is the exploding dice mechanic. Some games are like, yeah, double draws and etc. and all that stuff. But what I've seen is the exploding dice mechanic that's out there with a lot of games. Okay. And that is, you roll the highest number a die has available, and that gives you an additional die to roll as well. Games like Firefight and Dead Zone from Mantic Games has this mechanic. They use d8s, and every time you roll when you roll a natural 8, you get another 8 to roll. Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay did that same thing with like D100s. And some games are very much, okay, you get to roll another one. And if that one rolls that roll, then you get another one. And sometimes it could do that over and over and over and over and over. And sometimes they have to specifically state, you get another die to roll, but if that one rolls that high number, it's good. you're good. You don't get another roll if that one generates another roll, type of thing. But when it comes down to this legalese, these companies are stuck with writing rules that lawyers would have to sit down and decipher, because it was always another thing, another quick something else. You know what I mean? Like, have you had these moments, Heather?
I've had moments where it's like, I thought this mechanic worked this way, or where I've been unfortunately in the seat of not having read the rules, and I'm subject to, oh, the whatever the person who's running the game is saying, and they may have it wrong completely. But back to the subject matter, is more like, I guess what I'm trying to say is I've had the experience of both, actually, with what I just mentioned.
Okay. So, how do we know that we're in this? Well, get your notepads ready, kids. Because number one, Grey Ghost just kind of put something out there. And it is, when the game is written for a competitive market. And what that means is, if there is the game that you're wanting to learn to play is based on tournaments, competition, play with prizes. Games like Warhammer 40K, Magic the Gathering, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh. Games like these are like, all right, people are playing competitively, and they're going to use any loopholes that they can find in order to get a little bit of an advantage over their opponent, and they're going to use as many of these loopholes as we leave out there. So they do their best to close loopholes.
Hmm.
This is one of the reasons that I bitch and complain whenever a game I like gets a tournament scene, and that tournament scene becomes prominent, because then the manufacturers start having to write all their games via tournament rules. So it loses a lot of flavor because it goes back into the mathematics. Pathfinder was the role-playing game that came out with very comprehensive rules, but they didn't read like stereo instructions. And this is one of the reasons I dug them. They made it very clear, these are the circumstances of which you can do this thing. And people would ask, well, what if this circumstances came up? And they're like, oh, that's covered in another one of our books. This book on this page. Go check out that book on this page. Not kill the game and then put on your Sherlock Holmes hat, grab your magnifying glass, and pour through tome after tome after tome after tome after tome, and then buy this magazine, and then get a better internet connection, and then check the community tab on the official website for the ruling that came down 20 minutes after you started playing. You see what I mean? you know, But yeah, a lot of the times these things are written like stereo instructions to avoid the bad faith player that will use any advantage to win because that's the only way that they can have fun. The spikes, if you will. Um, and this is another one to help out the people that have been traumatized by other spikes. Because I know you've gone through you're trying to play a game and someone that you're playing with knows 18 books worth of rules that you didn't even know existed, and that's the only way they play, right?
Right.
You know,
I have. Speaking of Vampire the Masquerade specifically, or Sabat, there were a handful of rules, not more than a handful, I should say, quite a few rules that I didn't know, especially when I played my first game of Werewolf the Apocalypse. One of the rules was if your clothes aren't dedicated, you're naked when you change back from a Garu or a Garu. And that happened to me in my first session. And I was like, wondering why the hell am I naked in front of all these guys? um yeah, so I stopped playing female characters for a long time because of that, and I didn't want to have that pop up again in game. It's uncomfortable. So I started playing male characters more often than not, and it really threw people through a loop, especially when it was like I said my character's name, but apparently they didn't hear it or didn't read it on my character sheet. Point is that yeah, those types of things can spark those bad experiences can cause a little bit of gamer trauma to the point where you're avoiding the game.
yeah, yeah, there is most definitely that. So, how do we know what kind of game we're getting into? Well, when we read the rules to a game, a new game or a not so new game, a game that's new to us, we are fortunate living in this golden age of nerddom. Because most rule books are available online, and most FAQs, or frequently asked questions, are also available on. However, if you are determined to do this the old school way and read the instructions and not look for help, there are a few tips that I have that honestly will help you through this kind of thing. Number one is to ask yourself the type of game you're looking to play. All right. Some games, like um, a lot of tabletop war games, are just that. They are just fighting. They are not role playing. A lot of people, especially gamers, and y'all know that we're all guilty of this. We use jargon, um, where our personal experience is communicated in a way that someone that doesn't know that we're using jargon um will take seriously because it sounds that plausible to a person that's never seen it before. What am I talking about? Well, if you're a Warhammer 40K player out there, narrative play, match play, competitive play. I was talking to a friend of mine, because he plays a lot of miniature game tournaments like, Star Wars Legion and Malifaux and Infinity. And he noticed when he would go to somewhere and play, um, the bad sportsmanship question was asked, which was, is this a competitive game or a friendly game? And it's like, number one, every game should be friendly. All right. I don't know what you're talking about. Those look cool. However, oh, probably Star Wars Legion or Malifaux or Infinity. Anyway, um, and the second part to this is, yeah, when it comes to narrative play, um, what does that mean? I mean, I'm still trying to figure out what that means in 40K. And the people that play these games regularly talk as though you know what they're talking about. Well, no, this is a narrative game. What does that mean? Do we not play balanced armies? Is there a storyline? Like, what's going on? Am I going to have to take notes? Um, so when you're sitting down and trying to read the rules, it's important to understand the type of game that you're playing, okay? To understand the narrative of the games that you're playing. And this is a really big one, understand the lexicon of the games that they're playing. Now, one thing that turns off a lot of gamers or a lot of potential gamers from being full fledged, this is my main hobby, gamers, is um, the language of each game changes from game to game in order to avoid being trademark bullied or copyright by the bigger companies. Yeah, I'm talking about you, Games Workshop, but I'm also talking about Hasbro, PSR, AEG. You know, freaking Hasbro tried to successfully trademark the term tap a card. So other collectible card games had to come up. They actually they trademarked the term collectible card game. So now there's trading card game. you know, so when all that stuff comes down to it, um, how do you learn the rules and how do you navigate your way through all of the arcane language without taking a class? Well, if you understand the type of game, like let's take a tabletop war game, all the language is set up to how do I punch someone and how do I avoid getting punched? And when you look at it through that, that's a thing. When you set up a role playing game, um, it doesn't matter the genre of the role playing game, but it does matter the type of role playing game. Is it like D&D that claims to be an adventure game but has all of the rules are set up to make you fight better? um or is it like a game from White Wolf now on Express, like Vampire the Masquerade, which all of your bonuses and things you spend experience on are there to make you socialize more? Is it a social thing or a combat thing or a social combat thing? You know? And second question to ask, and this is a real big one. You're gonna like this one, Heather. How grounded is the game I'm playing in reality? Okay. A lot of the rules are set up going, well, if this was real, this would be it. And the term for it is verisimilitude. Every single narrative thing, every game, every hobby, everything that's created has to have a certain level of verisimilitude. This is why robots in fiction until about 10 years ago all looked like people. you know, I mean, of course, there were corner cases like Johnny Five, but they all have human features, especially when we're meant to identify with and sympathize with them, because we identify and sympathize with people more than we do our microwave. That's why Wallow has eyes, and Eva has curves. You get what I mean? So when you sit down for a game, it's like, is this a real life simulation game? Or is this a I'm here to beat up zombies and say, look at me, I'm beating up zombies? This is what I talk about when I say the game behind the game. One of my favorite man, I got a lot of Generation Xers here. They're like, no disassemble. Did someone say Johnny Five? Los Lobos kick your butt. Los Lobos kick your face. Yeah, I'm glad I'm not alone in my innocent geekdom. Uh, um, but yeah, so there's a lot of that. So let's take give me an example of a game that you like, Heather.
There's a game I really like playing, and I haven't played it in a while, but it's a board game called King's Armory.
King's
Have you heard?
Armory.
Yeah,
I have never played King's Armory. So tell me what the game is about.
and and I'm gonna correct myself. It's not just a board game. It's more of a tower defense board game. So basically, you start out going down a path that's been designed by the game maker, of course, and you're basically trying to make it through the course to get to this door at the end of the road, and go through and perhaps fight another battle. But of course, you can play this game by yourself or you can play with other people, like up to 8 people, I think. And the game plays out where you're shooting at several folks, or you're with magic, or you're blasting them with fire, or you're blasting them with electricity or something like that.
Okay.
And you're trying to, yeah, yeah.
So yeah, so I'm going to stop you right there because you did exactly the right thing and you didn't even know it. I said, tell me about the game, and you said it is a tower defense game. Now that means one person is in a tower and another person is laying siege to it. So when you're reading the rules, all the rules should be written around how do I blow up a wall and how do I keep my wall from being blown up? And then you went into the hows of it. So when you're reading the rules to a game, it really helps to know what the essence, what the core of the game is when you go in. Not the genre. I'm not talking, is it a miniatures game? Is it a deck building game? Is no, 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 no. What do you do with those things? I brought up Carnival. It is a game about running, jumping rooftops, and drowning people in rivers. The stabbing and punching, that's incidental. you know, because most tabletop miniatures games are about stabbing and shooting and stuff, but how you get to it, that's the important thing. With Monopoly, Monopoly is a game of aggressive real estate acquirement and making your friends feel bad because you took all of their money, all of their property, and it's all yours now. And when you
Yeah,
read the rule, huh?
I was just
What?
gonna say it's about capitalism.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So when you understand the essence of the game, then you can read the rules going, oh, okay, they mean this. But when you're reading the rules, um, one of the things that helps me navigate my way through reading a lot of the rules in games is when I read the rules to the game, I stop and I think how it applies on the board. Okay. So it's like, you know, each player has a speed ranking of 5 or 6. Um, each number equates to 5 feet in real life or 1 square on the board. Thank you. Now I know if I have a speed of 5, then I can move 60 feet in a round. How long is a round? A round is supposed to symbolize 6 seconds. That's why I can only throw one punch. That's why I can only do a spell. That's why when I cast haste on myself, I'm moving at super speed and working twice as fast as I normally would. That makes sense. Okay? Um, but where a lot of people lose it when they're reading games is they're trying to apply the rules to the game to what they know about real life outside of the context of what they're reading. You get what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You know, Um, and this is where we hit up stuff. So, understanding the nature of the game that you're trying to read the rules to is step one. And step two, and this is a really big one, don't try and outsmart the rules. Learn them for what they are, essentially in a vacuum. You know, um, I learn and go through a lot of games, and a lot of people, especially gamers, try and equate the game that they're learning to the game that they already know. They try and look at it through that lens. Okay. And I say,
That's fine and
hmm?
all.
Well,
I was just
sorta.
gonna say that's fine, but it's also can be problematic in its own right, because then you're stuck on the mechanics of XYZ game while you're trying to play the current game that's up there, and it's like, well, does this work this way? No, it doesn't work that way. Or yeah, it kind of works like that, but it's not exactly like that.
Oh yeah, like not just the mechanics, but as I said, the essence. Okay. In the mechanic realm, let's compare the two biggest role playing games on Earth to each other. There's Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition. Okay. That is, this is the number you have to roll with your d20, meet it or beat it. Versus Call of Cthulhu. This is your skill level out of 100, and you win if you roll below your number. So if you have a driving skill of 51, and you roll a 55, you messed up. Okay, that is a mechanic difference. But even bigger than that, is the essence of the game within the way that it's written. Okay. D&D is about people that want to feel special, getting a few superpowers, going out, adventuring, beating up monsters, and feeling good about themselves. And all the mechanics and all of the plot lines point toward that. It's a world where people know the gods and there's magic all over the place to the point where there are schools. And it feels fun and light and very crispine. And then you play Call of Cthulhu, where the world is dark and it hates you. And if you try and cast a spell, you're going to go crazy. If you get into a fight, you will probably die. So, as D&D is based on Leroy Jenkins working out, D&D or Call of Cthulhu is based on, if you Leroy Jenkins, you're gonna be an extra. You're gonna be that character where people are going, don't open the no. Why did you think you could beat that? You know, and I've seen this in real life where D&D players sit down for Call of Cthulhu and they try and start a fight and things don't go well. You know,
And everyone feels bad at the end of the game.
well, the new players feel bad, where the older players are going, dude, we were trying to tell you, this is not, don't start a fight with these guys. um, yeah, like Middle Earth back in the day, percentile games where you died quickly. Star Wars, yeah, I mean, it really is. Let's see, a bit part demon, yeah, small time misfit, yeah. Yeah, exactly. It really is one of those things where you're like, no, I'm going to do this. It's like, no, dude, you're being the dude in the prologue to show what the threat to the actual world is, you know? But when you understand the nature of that thing, then you can look at the rules for what they are. And when you look at the rules for what they are and don't compare them to the other games that even though they have similarities, they are different. And you gamers out there that try and get your gaming friends to play something other than you guys have always played, y'all know what complication this is. I teach one-page rules, which is like Warhammer 40K, but people keep trying to make it Warhammer 9th edition, and no one likes 9th edition. And I'm like, why are you trying to turn this simple game too complicated? Just roll the dice, guys. When I was playing Star Trek Attack Wing and Star Wars X-Wing, people I knew wanted to turn it into War Machine, and it's like, no, this is a different game. And when I was running Shadowrun with my White Wolf friends wanted to avoid all combat and play nothing but politics because they were used to playing Vampire the Masquerade. So they couldn't wrap their heads around the rules to the game because they only saw through the lens of what they already know. So learn the rules as something new and not something comparative. You get where I'm going with this, Heather?
Absolutely, I do. And it's important to mention that because that the whole reason why it's problematic to compare games all together is because then you have the wrong idea about the game, what the premise of the game actually is, and that can take away from your experience.
Yeah. Yeah, and definitely reduce your enjoyment.
Right. That is included in the experience. I'm sorry if I didn't mention that.
No, it's cool. I'm just, you say it and I say it for the people in the back. That's why we're here for. We're a team.
Woo.
Boo, boo, boo. Yeah, Fallout, exactly. I still haven't been able to wrap my head around how to play Wasteland Warfare. So since we're out of time for today, I will give you guys the third really useful tool that is, I'm not going to say it's brand new because it's about 20 years old. But it's something that wasn't around when I was growing up, and these kids nowadays don't know how good they have it, which is playthroughs on YouTube. There are more instructional videos on how to play games out there than has ever been in the past. Ever been. Every time I sit down with a new game, I remember when I was learning the DC Universe tabletop minis game, which was my next step from HeroClix. these cards for these role playing games or for these tabletop minis games, or for this tabletop minis game, has just as many stats as a freaking character sheet. And I'm like, but I just want to move my guy and make him go up, up, and away. How can I make that happen? And I found a video from a dude called Filk, who said, okay, this is how combat works and this is how to use the powers. And it was a 10-minute video where he had Superman punch Batman. Batman fell off a building, hit Superman with the grappling hook, pulled him down, pulled out kryptonite, called it a day. I'm like, this is great. This is really great. So there are tutorials and walkthroughs, and I'm in the process of writing quite a few tutorials because I need a larger YouTube presence to get more people here on Twitch. So yeah, one of the things I always recommend doing, especially to new players, is looking up the specific game that they are looking to play and then type how to into the YouTube search engine. And you will get a bunch of different games. And this was not a 1-hour rant on just look it up, but also how to see things so that you can look it up properly and how to absorb the information. Because rules as written aren't always written clearly. You know, anything to add on before we get out of here, Heather?
I was just gonna say, truth to that, and in closing, if you want to find me outside of the dark side of the room, you can find me on tomorrow, Wednesday, at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, as well as 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Gaming Fix Live. That's twitch.tv/Gaming Fix Live, GAMINGFIXXLIVE. And if you want to get a hold of me outside of that as well, you can send a message to my mailbox, to my email. That's going to be at mellowcello007 or 007 at gmail.com. And yeah, feel free to shoot me your ideas, your questions, your comments, concerns. Yeah, I hope to see you tomorrow on Gaming Fix.
Sweet. As long as I'm cool with all that, as long as y'all don't send emails like, man, you were so much cooler than Solar. You should be taking over the show. You know, I'm kidding. Because I know you get those emails already. I'm looking at you, Neon. No. I'm kidding. And of course, you guys can reach me over at backinthedeck@gmail.com. That's BACKINTHEDECK @gmail.com. You can also hit me up on Twitter at backinthedeck and on Instagram and TikTok and all those other places. Even if you're over 40 like me, you can even find me on Facebook at Deckers on the Book. So thank you guys for being here today. If you have any other questions, hit me up on any of those things. But it's only Tuesday, so we got a whole nother part of the week to go through. And, you know, join us tomorrow for our next subject. I'm not telling you what it's about today because I said what the subject was about yesterday, and we didn't have as many people in. So, you know what? Y'all should come in, bring some friends, be like, you know what? This guy talks a lot about some really cool stuff. Just check it out and all that stuff. Major thanks to everybody that's out here in the chat. I see you, Miss Moose, a lot. I still miss your face. I miss all your face. You too, White Pepe. Welcome. So with all that, I gotta say thank you for being here. What is this? Proper trolling and toxicity during the time of wokeness? That is for the meeting tonight down by the docks. All right. So, yeah, down by the docks, Pier 37. You know, just saying. Now, so thank you guys for joining us. I'm Solar Gray, the Cinematic Sorcerer. Along with my co-host
MellowCello007 or just MellowCello.
And thank you guys for joining us. And if anybody tells you that you can't like what you like because of the circumstances of your birth, be it race, religion, creed, gender identity, sexual orientation, disability, budget, or neurodiversity, because we all know that the trailer park ain't never too far from the hood, you can tell them to take those cards and put them back in the deck. This is Solar Gray, the Cinematic Sorcerer, saying thank you guys, and we will see you next time on the dark side of the room.